What's up, y'all? It's Shuffle, and welcome to the Plague Doctor guide for Darkest Dungeon 2. In this video, we're going to talk about Plague Doctor's strengths, weaknesses, how to play her skills, her paths, what her trinkets do, and some teammates to help get her started. Strengths. What is Plague Doctor good at? She is a damage over time, aka DOT, aka dot. I will use all those throughout the video. But she is a dot focused character, meaning she can apply burn, blight, and bleed depending on the setup. Plague Doctor is also a fantastic support / healing unit. You start with her in the original starter team of the game, and most players will probably put her on every team for the first, 40 hours. I'm not saying you need to do that, but I feel that Plague Doctor is one of the few characters people just have this real ease of use with. They like to put her on a lot of teams, and it's okay to do that. Her final strength is that she's very flexible with trinkets. You can build her damage focus, you can give her defensive trinkets, you can give her support trinkets. Like, almost anything works on this character unless it's something that just is antithetical to what she does. PD does have her weaknesses. First off, she is a very, very squishy unit. She doesn't have much in the way of defenses either. So that means that her teammates have to do a great job of protecting her and keeping her safe. Her next major weakness is that she likes to be at the back of the party, either rank 3 or rank 4. She can do stuff in 2, but honestly, you don't want her in 2. Like, don't even try and meme in the comments about it. You really just want to put her in the back, because this way you don't have to worry about her low defenses, and you get access to pretty much any skill that she has. Her final weakness I did touch on earlier in this section, and that is that she does need her teammates to help her perform well. She's a great support unit, but she also has to make sure that the team around her is good enough to get the job done. Because of this, Plague Doctor usually has some difficult turns throughout the run. Either you have to decide when to push damage with Blight or Incision, or you have to decide if you need to heal someone or if they can hang on for another turn. Now that we know all of that, how do we play Plague Doctor? The easiest and most straightforward way to do it is to focus on using your dot abilities, so try and blight stuff or bleed stuff as much as you can, especially in the early rounds when damage is more important. And then do your best to support your allies, so give them the tokens they need, ounce of prevention, stuff like that. Heal them if they need it, of course. And the final tip is to try and disrupt the enemies. You don't usually need to do this, just because the game is so damage focused, so just pushing damage is usually the better strategy. But if you're running stuff like Physician, or if you're against enemies where your damage over time don't match up too well, then you still have access to things like Blinding Gas, Disorienting Blast, and even Magnesium Rain to a lesser extent because it removes corpses, which can disrupt enemy positioning. Next, let's talk about PD's skills. It's good to get familiar with them because you're probably using her a lot at the start of the game. And so the first one is Noxious Blast. This is just a solid frontline blight attack, so it does some okay on hit damage considering what it does, and that does a lot of blight damage. So it's really straightforward. Upgrade it, get more damage, but most builds, it's pretty much this or Incision. So if you're not running, a Surgeon or rank 3 build, if you put her in 4, it's probably this and Plague Grenade, but yeah. So, straightforward. Blinding Gas it's interesting. It's almost like super good. It's just that doing damage is usually better. But when you start off, this is not bad, So, it can potentially combo 2 targets. It tries to blind them. And when it's upgraded, it will also daze them, which with the recent daze changes, actually, and using stuff like Dead Ringer, which is a trinket that dazes enemies on hit, you could actually throw this and instantly stun something, which I hadn't thought of before until I looked at this. So maybe that's something worth trying, but it's not a bad move, but the moment you get Plague Grenade, this thing's pretty much gone. Incision, really good melee attack, just solid in terms of damage, solid in terms of bleed, good crit rates, and if you're on a Surgeon path, this gets better. But yeah, like I was saying, it's either this or Noxious in most cases, and this move is pretty good. Then we have Battlefield Medicine. This is pretty much on every Plague Doctor build, just because being able to remove damage over time is helpful, and then when you upgrade it, it cures herself of DOT as well. So you only get 3 shots of it, so use it sparingly. And yeah, it's just good HP healing, dot removal, so it's okay to be proactive with this too. Like, if someone's not under the threshold, you can still remove the damage over time. So if they, you know, get hit by Deacon's Exaltation, which does, wait, not Exaltation, it's Flesh from Bone, but he has like a 10-point bleed, then you can use this preemptively if you don't want to deal with it. Then Ounce of Prevention, this move was interesting because, you know, the first couple weeks of the game, this move was busted because it healed stress with, you know, no threshold. And it quickly became the thing everyone spammed, and, you know, people always think of this move for that, but it got nerfed. And it's actually still surprisingly good. It's not immediately useful if you're just against one damage over time type. Like, it's almost not worth popping just for that. But if you're in a fight that has two of these, so like a Creature Den or the Fetter, you know, two of these things can pop up. The Flare and the Sprawl, I think, can also bleed and burn once it ignites. Then this gets really good because you're blocking 2 effects, potentially 3 effects, which makes it very helpful. The other thing too is it's a buff on you that lasts for 3 turns. And against certain bosses that have like multiple actions and they do damage over time, this can block a lot of it. So it does get a lot of use against, you know, the more actions the enemy side has. It's a pretty good move. Not one you have all the time, but still pretty good, surprisingly. Plague Grenade, this is pretty much just on at all times. I actually don't know why the game doesn't start you with this. This is either your first or second shrine unlock, if I remember correctly. And it is just a backline attack that does some pretty good blight. The reason this should be unlocked at the start is because the starter team with no unlocks has a hugely difficult time of hitting rank 4 specifically. And so having Plague Grenade as consistent damage for that would help it a lot, but you don't have that, so it's pretty good. Once you unlock it, it's probably on at all times unless you're running something that kind of discourages it. Emboldening Vapors is not really that good outside of Physician or with a Trinket. You know, it's a cooldown for 1 strength token on someone. Upgraded, it's okay because you can use it every turn. It looks like the cooldown's gone, and it gives speed as well. So unupgraded, not that good, especially compared to Vestal with, you know, Consecration of Light, which is just strength every turn. But, you know, once it's upgraded, it's pretty good. But before that, not so much. Disorienting Blast does a lot of things, and it's cool. It's not the best move, if I can be quite honest. Kind of for the same reason Blinding Gas isn't that good at the moment. And I don't know why the Weaken is conditional, you know, like a percentage chance. I wish it did both. Honestly, if it did both, probably pretty good. I don't think a Daze and a Weaken plus a Shuffle is that busted compared to some other stuff. And it can stun when upgraded if the target has combo, but you can also Daze them on top of stunning them. I don't know how this works anymore, because you used to be able to do both, and it would stun them first and then Daze them after, but I don't know how it works these days, because stun's been changed a bit. Indiscriminate Science, this is her 3rd shrine, and I'm specifically saying which shrine you get it from, because this move is the most broken move on the character, and one of the most broken moves in the entire game. Even unupgraded, it consumes your positive tokens, and you're probably going, why do I want to do that? Why would I eat my own positive tokens? I want those tokens. Well, sometimes you're in a situation where the fight's about to end, the enemy's about to die, or even someone's at low HP and you don't want to spend the battlefield medicine. It's okay to just take their strength token and heal them with it. So this is a very strong move, and then when you upgrade it, this thing can like full heal characters like Man-at-Arms and Highwayman, because they can generate a ton of tokens in 1 turn through, Retribution Plus and Take Aim Plus. Even the non-plus versions are still okay, but yeah, they can make a lot of tokens at one time. And there are a couple other characters that can too. I think like Leper and Withstand as well. So you can make a lot of tokens at once. You can heal for a ton of HP. It's only got a 1-turn cooldown. And this move is very strong. Specifically for the token cleanse. The heal is really nice on top of it, but being able to remove negative tokens, not many things in the game do this. And so that's what makes this move, you know, so precious, is some enemies like to saddle you with a bunch of tokens at once and you can just rip them all off. It's really nice. Cause of Death, this is pretty much used for 2 reasons. It's to kill bosses and large size 2, as we call them, because they take 2 spaces, those types of enemies. Because those things usually have the HP totals that justify using something like Cause of Death. And so what happens is any damage over time effect that's on the target, it consumes all of it and does either a portion of the damage or all of the damage immediately. So it's a cash out thing, and it can do a ton. You know, I've seen screenshots into the hundreds with this thing. So if you have some items that apply damage over time on, you know, multiple people, or your team is built for damage over time, this can put out a lot of damage after like 2 turns. So it's really good for that, but it really takes some dedication to get the most out of it. Very cool ability, not the most broken, but actually I wouldn't even say it's broken at all, but yeah, it's cool. Not always something that you're probably using though. Magnesium Rain is really interesting because I feel that this move isn't super strong, but I feel that like any change it receives would break it, because it's got a cooldown. The cooldown's fair. The burn damage is fair. It hits the whole team, which is fair. It removes corpses, which is fair. So it's a good move. You just kind of wish it did something else, you know, like what if it did 1 damage to get rid of tokens and stuff, like block tokens or check Death Store and stuff like that? It would be broken. So it doesn't have that. So you can say that it's in a great spot. And honestly, I would agree with you. It's a good move. It's an alternative to Plague Grenade if you're running Surgeon, for instance, because you don't get to use your Blight skills. And it's good in certain fights that, or like certain regions that have a fixation on corpses. Now it's time to talk about PD's paths, and we'll start with Surgeon. Very straightforward. You get bonus HP, bonus melee damage, which is incision only. And then you get healing given, which is nice, and then minus blight chance, so your Noxious Blast and Plague Grenade are pretty much out. This path is really, really solid, so you just get bonus damage on your incision, and then for the other skills, you're a bit flexible because you don't have to run Noxious or Plague Grenade. For your other skills, it's pretty easy to slot stuff in because you don't have to run the Blight package, so you can run some utility stuff. I would recommend the heals, so Battlefield Medicine and Science on top of Incision. And then the other 2 are pretty much up to you. I like to run Magnesium Rain just to get a little utility out of corpse clearing and stuff, and then Ounce is okay. But you could also run Cause of Death if you built the team for it. You can even run Disorienting or Blinding. So those are some good options. And for this Plague Doctor, she goes into rank 3. You don't get access to your stuff in rank 4, or at least Incision, which you really need. And so having her in 3, and then having someone else like Occultist can be helpful. Or Hellion with like Iron Swan to hit rank 4 and give your team some reach. And then next we have Alchemist. Alchemist goes into rank 4, but for the path itself, it's again straightforward because PD uses the old path system. And that is you get minus HP plus Blight chance, which is really strong. And then you get Blight crit chance, which is super good. Because her Blight skills, I think, have decent crit. 5, actually no, it's 5 in this, and then 5 and 5, never mind. I'm tripping. I guess this makes it feel better because you get up to 15. But yeah, so these, for Alchemist, I should say. Actually, you can still run that. Starting to see a pattern, right? We always have like the heals, and then like the damage over time that we want, and then like some utility skills. So it could be Ounce, could be Mag Rain, still get the utility out of moving corpses, and Disorienting or Emboldening if you really want to, but 1 strength token doesn't compare to the Blight damage that you could put out otherwise, so usually you don't want to run Emboldening on this build. But yeah, so some options. Put her in rank 4. Really any team goes with Alchemist. It's very strong for that reason. And then we have Physician. I haven't ran this for a minute, but I do like this path. So your damage over time skills lose some potency, except for Magnesium Rain. Your Disorienting Blast can pierce stun resist, which is helpful. And then Ounce gives you stress resist, which is nice. Vapors gives an extra strength token on top. And then you also get vulnerable off disorienting blast. So this path really wants you to run disorienting. And so if we were to make a build for it, I was double checking. In the first iteration of this, it used to decrease healing given. So I was double checking if it still did that because I couldn't remember. Yeah, so you want to run something close to this. Actually, you want ounce too. So you could reliably take off. I don't want to say take off incision, but you could and put her in 4 and just run a super utility Plague Doctor. You know, you could do that. I would still say put her in 3 and probably make the choice to get rid of one of these skills, most likely disorienting, and run incision, even though you have less bleed damage. So incision deals 1/3 and then 2/3 instead of 3 and 4 for bleed damage. Incision still has a decent on-hit damage, and so this way you still have an attack that can help you check Death's Door. And this one doesn't get as gutted by, you know, the damage over time nerf as the blight skills, but you can still run them. Like, it's still okay to ping Death's Door and stuff like that, but I think it's more fun to try and build her out of that archetype anyway. You could also run Magnesium Rain if you wanted to. But this, yeah, if you don't run Incision, you can put her in 4. But otherwise, this is a really, really heavy support path. So if you've seen my other videos talking about characters, anytime they have like a very low damage path, like Carcass or Poet, or in this case, you know, Physician, you want to run a ton of damage on the rest of the team because they have to pick up the slack. So you could run like Ravager Hellion, you could run like Vanguard Man-at-Arms is another one, Tempest Leper, Sharpshot Highwayman, Deadeye Grave Robber, Nightsworn 2, but it's a bit harder to pull off, and you know, stuff like that. So you really want as much damage as you can squeeze out from the rest of the team if you're going to run something like this. But it's fun. I do suggest you try running this at some point just to get some more familiarity with the character and see what else she can do. Come here, kitty. Oh, Echo Appearance. All right, and so that's it for this part. We're going to move on to trinkets, teammates, and stuff, and I'll see you in a sec. Next, let's talk about Plague Doctor's trinkets. We'll start with the class ones and annotated textbook. This is strictly for incision, but it's pretty good for incision, and you know, 10 crit's good. Having medicinal herbs, which aren't too rare, gives you bonus healing, which is really high. And going first in the turn order, giving you vuln, isn't too difficult to play around because she's not the fastest, but you do have to be a bit aware of it. Early Experiment, this one's pretty good. Not even for the disorienting thing, like that's cool, but it's not, you know, something to depend on. But having a noxious item equipped just to deal 2 extra blight, that is a ton of damage. So if you have like Plague Grenade and you have some noxious item like Spore Grenade, or there's something else I'm sure I'm forgetting, but yeah, if you have one of those that are tagged noxious, then that's just 2 extra blight every time you attack for most of your stuff, because you're not using incision, and this really isn't a downside. So it's a really good trinket. Storage Room Key, this is the best on Physician, because Physician likes to run the more utility style setup, but I mean, you can still use it on other stuff, but it's really cool to have Emboldening do something besides just like 1 strength and 1 speed when it's mastered. So, you know, if you're Physician and it's mastered, I think it's 2 strength, 1 speed, and 2 regen for 3 turns. That's pretty freaking good. That's a very loaded move. And then Ounce of Prevention, giving the whole team block, is really nice. So all of her class trinkets are solid, but she can make use of pretty much anything. You know, even crit on Plague Doctor to help the damage over time stick and do a bit more damage is really nice if you want to go the damage route. You don't have to go the damage route though. You can go with speed, that's good on her. Anything defensive, so HP, resist, potentially protectorate for healing is nice. Move resist is good on her, so she doesn't get pulled out of the back if you're running her back there. Dead Ringer is actually pretty funny on her because you can use her moves that hit multiple enemies at a time to potentially, you know, daze a bunch of them. And so you can have Plague Grenade that dazes 2 people, Magnesium Rain that dazes 4. That's pretty fun. Noxious, or not Noxious Ring, Poison Ring, also good on her just because ton of Blight synergy. And really anything that comes out of the fetter. All those Blight Trinkets and even the boss Trinkets are good for her. So Ghastly Gruel, she likes to be in rank 4 if you're not running Incision, so that's pretty good. Kitchen Knives, you know, she's throwing out a ton of Blight usually. Brilliant Brew, fantastic. Corrupting Cleaver if you're not running Alchemist, or, you know, you don't have it unlocked or whatever, this is pretty nice. Cuppa, not really a dedicated Blight Trinket, but still, you know, Blight-centric. Galvanizing Goblet, fantastic, and I think that's it for those. But all the other mainstays you'd expect are strong as always, so stuff like... Actually, I'll talk about Corrupting Bile Gland after, but Pocket Watch, Temptation, you know, those are great on her. Silent Treatment might be okay just to get the extra, you know, crit, and she's in the back, so it's a bit harder to hit her, but probably have to guard her too, just in case. Then Lockjaw really helps because she has, you know, damage over time. Misstep, she's probably the best user of this, besides maybe Vestal, because her on-hit damage isn't that important if you're not running a Surgeon. And so this way you just have a ton of bonus HP, but some interesting stuff like Corrupting Bile Gland. Since she's in rank 4 all the time, you know, you have a chance to apply one of these effects, and she's the safest from getting them because she's in the back, so she's not going to get hit as often. But otherwise, you can do a lot of stuff with her. Just focus on stuff that helps Blight synergy or defensive presence, and I think that's it for this section. Let's end the video by talking about some good teammates for Plague Doctor. Before I even mention anyone though, I want to say that you can run anyone with Plague Doctor. She's pretty set up in her ways on what she wants to do, and she synergizes with pretty much anyone, because if she's just throwing out damage over time, there's not too much that she has to worry about what the other people are doing. She just has to be able to sit in the back. So having her back there, throwing out Incision or Plague Grenade and stuff like that is fine, and everyone appreciates all of her support stuff for the most part. With that said, there are some synergies to run with her though, such as Flagellance. Flagellant has a lot of healing and blight damage, so that can really help Plague Doctor keep the team alive and keep her heals ready for other emergencies like tokens or damage over time. Plus, Flagellant likes to be in the front and Plague Doctor in the back, so it's pretty easy to find spots for them on the same team. The next hero to talk about is Occultist, and Occultist is a pretty solid rank 3 hero, or rank 4 if you want to use Surgeon. So they're pretty interchangeable in how they operate, and the two of them together are really good at killing the 2 back rank enemies specifically. So if you're sitting there running into 4 enemy mashes, then you can use Plague Grenade and Abyssal Artillery to sit there and just drill the hell out of the backline and kill them in like 2 turns. There's another added benefit that's Indiscriminate Science, removing negative tokens, and Plague Doctor's ability to cure damage over time really helps to mitigate a lot of Occultist downsides. The final character to pair with Plague Doctor is Man-at-Arms. You can honestly run any tank because a lot of them have interesting stuff that works with her, but Man-at-Arms specifically in this current state of the game has a lot of good synergy with Plague Doctor. Man-at-Arms is a frontline unit that can stress heal, so he doesn't have to fight her for positioning. He is a taunt and guard focused tank, so he can do a lot of things to protect Plague Doctor in case there's damage coming her way. Plague Doctor has reach that Man-at-Arms doesn't. Man-at-Arms does not do damage over time, and Plague Doctor does, so they offset each other pretty well. And the final thing is Indiscriminate Science. So Man-at-Arms is one of only a couple characters in the game that can instantly generate a ton of tokens, and so if you use the current version of Indiscriminate Science after using Retribution Plus, or even base Retribution honestly, then Plague Doctor can always consume it for a ton of bonus HP. Alright, let's get it for the video. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you're thinking down below. We're going to move on to our final character, Man-at-Arms, coming up shortly, as well as some region guides. I just need to spend some time making them. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.